politicians and the chyrons and the consultants and the people who have been anti-Trump since the beginning and continue to be as he becomes president. I mean, look, Anderson, I think the more important conversation, maybe it's for another time, but let's start it tonight briefly. The more important conversation is we're at a very important inflection point about journalism. What are the standards here? How are we going to cover the new president of the United States? Because I took a little peek at what the headlines about President-elect Obama were 8 years ago. Whew, talk about the world's biggest disconnect. It was basically how he'll rule with excellence. Should President-elect Obama go to Oslo now and pick up his Nobel Peace Prize, or should he wait until after he's sworn in? We get nothing like that. We get no forbearance. We get nothing. We get no respect.
We actually covered Donald Trump's allegations against against President Obama quite frequently, and interviewed actually Donald Trump about his allegations, completely unproven and fake, against President Obama.
I don't know what that has to do with this. I'm just merely saying
you're talking about old headlines about President Obama. We ran with that story a lot.
At this time, before he was president-elect, it was basically what will they wear to the inauguration and how historic, in other words, what will his inaugural address be? Why don't we have that conversation? I'm happy to talk to you about that, but we can't. When CNN and Buzzfeed and others are trying to release information sequentially on the same night and it all gets picked up and gets looped together, and you know that. I was on several shows this morning. Our incoming Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, was. We had a press conference today with the President-elect, and it all gets
I understand
together.
Other people.
You may not like it.
I understand other people loop things together, but we are not discussing the details of what BuzzFeed dumped onto the internet. That's not. You haven't heard that on
CNN did today, and I guarantee you they will tonight. Probably on a show that runs after yours. They probably
have not. We have been very conscientious in not discussing the details, the completely unsubstantiated and increasingly false, apparently, details of what was being reported by BuzzFeed, or what was not even being reported, just being dumped onto the internet by BuzzFeed. And we're not going to do it tonight, certainly not on my program. But we want to.
And it's all fake news. And let me just say,
well, it's not.
I
mean, that's just disingenuous.
In that report, yes, it's all fake news. And people keep using the word dossier, like it's using some fancy French word is going to imbue it with credibility. It's an internet report. It is not an intelligence report. It's a collection of stuff that came from political operatives.
Yes, I agree.
Who wanted a different candidate to win.
We agree on this.
But Anderson, look, if a business doesn't do well some year, they usually clean house. They usually get rid of the people who embarrassed them, who didn't meet their projection goals, who said things that just weren't true and made no sense. And I just don't see that at CNN and other places. I mean, how are we going to move forward and have a great relationship with major news organizations if everything just sounds and looks and seems the same? The chyrons, the pundits.
But to be honest, my job is not to have a great relationship with you. My job, I mean, I like you personally, my job, and I respect you, and I respect anybody who is in the public arena and putting themselves out there and is a public servant, as you all are. And I respect the President-elect enormously for all he's done and all I hope he's going to do. But the job of the press is not to be buddies and hang out socially with everybody.
How about be fair?
I agree.
Well, gosh, that certainly has been the case for President Obama.
I've never been to the White House to hang out socially.
But a lot of folks have. A lot of folks have.
I agree.
But that aside,
I don't go to the White House Correspondent Dinner. I went once. I'm like, I'm never going again. I don't want to hang out socially with these people. That's not my job. But I mean, look, this is a larger conversation. I'm happy to have it to you because I do.
Well, it is. And Anderson, just briefly, that's right. But Mike Pence put it best today, our Vice President-elect. He said, in introducing our President-elect Donald Trump, he said that we all support a fair and free press. But with freedom comes responsibility. And he's absolutely right. And I think people should not do this rush to judgment, have conclusions in search of evidence that then really confuse the viewers and the readers.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. We're on the same page on that. And Kellyanne Conway, as always, I appreciate your time. Well, throughout the interview, you heard Kellyanne Conway repeatedly claim that CNN linked to the Buzzfeed story that the Trump team and many others are taking exception with the Buzzfeed story, which we have not reported the details on. You also heard me say repeatedly that that is simply not true. About 20 minutes after that interview, before we went on air, Kellyanne Conway tweeted this screenshot of our reporting and what she claims is a link to Buzzfeed in that article. Now, just as a matter of fact, because facts do actually matter, it is not a link to Buzzfeed. It links to a story by CNN's Dylan Byers about the controversy. And his piece, which I've read, does not link to BuzzFeed, nor does it lay out the unverified, unsubstantiated allegations that the Trump people rightly are objecting to. It does mention Trump attorney Michael Cohen. That's only because Michael Cohen publicly denied what BuzzFeed's, his mention in the BuzzFeed, I don't even want to call it reporting, the document dump. There is no link to BuzzFeed, full stop.